Shut up and sit down.
Episode 29 of No One Ask Us here. Logan Lee, Craig Schote. We have a lot Illinois football to talk about in today's show. The college football season kicked off this weekend. Craig was there. We're going to hear from our man on the street to talk about his experience in Chambana on Saturday. Plus the rest of the college football world kicks off this weekend. So we got a lot to talk about with college football. Craig, I do want to ask you about your weekend because we do usually start with that, but I know that your weekend is going to lead into the major discussions. So I want to start real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I went to a baseball game. On Saturday. If you'll remember a few weeks ago, I went to a baseball game at Wrigley Field in what was at the time, unknowingly, the last time that names like Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant would play a game at Wrigley Field, at least in a Cubs uniform for the moment. That was the last time I was at a baseball game. I'll be honest, that's the last time I've watched an inning of baseball prior to this past Saturday.
July 28th, probably 29th.
Yes, I think they're about a month between each other. Yes, so it's been a month. I haven't really watched any Cubs baseball since then. And back at the beginning of July, I got asked to join a group for a bachelor party in Chicago for the game that they were attending. They were going to the Cubs Sox game Saturday night at the end of August. So of course I'm going to go, like regardless of who's playing. But I think at the time in early July, I'm thinking that's going to be fun. Like Cubs Sox, both teams are going to be competing. And then you know what happened at the end of July with the trade deadline. Logan? No, we're not going to talk about that. So I am now one of the many Cubs fans at Guaranteed Rate Ballpark or whatever the hell they're calling it now. I think it's awful. I get it. It's a sponsorship. I hate it.
I've heard much worse.
The Cubs did win this game. Surprisingly, I couldn't tell you what the final score was.
Really?
I wasn't paying that much attention. So I was taking the opportunity to catch up with some friends. And you know what? I had a great time. The Cubs did win. There was several
when was
home
this?
runs. I do know.
This Saturday
was
night?
Saturday.
They didn't win. Friday was the huge one. Okay. Sorry.
Yep.
My mistake.
And Sunday they got killed too, but they definitely won on Saturday the night I was there.
Friday was the 30-run game.
Pretty sure Patrick Wisdom hit like 2 more home runs. Patrick Wisdom, who's going to set the Cubs rookie home run record. And he has only played in about half the games that Chris Bryant did his rookie season. Mm-hmm. This is former Cardinal great Patrick Wisdom, who, if it wasn't for Jonathan India of the Reds, would likely be the rookie of the year for the National League. But Patrick Wisdom's having a year. Regardless, the point is I was at a baseball game. I was enjoying myself. The Cubs did happen to win. They couldn't win, any of those games prior to the trade deadline, but they did at least win that game. They got killed in nearly every other game in that crosstown series. But I was at least there for that one. So I was able to catch up with a couple of college friends of ours, Rob and Curtis, 2 guys that you also know as well. And it was shout out to the boys.
Congrats to Rob.
Congrats to Rob. Rob's getting married in April. Probably future guest if Gonzaga is making another run in a national title. Yeah. I think the plan, might bring him on. And Curtis and I talked about podcasts because him and some of his friends have started one as well. He's out in LA. So shout out to them. Shout out to the boys. But yeah, that was my weekend. I know we usually start with that, so I at least wanted to address that. I will say this too. I was unprepared for the shit show that was the parking. So I've been going to Wrigley on a consistent basis the last few years. And I've got like going there down to a science. Like I know where I'm going to park. I know how long it's going to take me to get there. It's been a long time since I've been to a game on the South Side. I don't think I've ever been to a game on the South Side when I was actually driving. So I got there when I thought was plenty of time. I got stuck in all sorts of traffic. I would have never guessed it was worse. I already had a parking pass purchased, and I sat in traffic for an hour before I could even park my car. And then I had to wait in a line to even get into the ballpark. So I didn't even get to the ballpark till like the second inning. And then we're, sitting up towards the top because there's a big group of us. And that's about all the tickets he probably could have found at that point when they got the tickets for a Cubs Sox game at the time when, both teams are supposed to be good. So I had a great time. And that's what I did on Saturday.
It was funny.
Now, Craig.
Friday night, I was seeing Rob Jesselson's Insta stories.
Yes.
It was him. It was obviously at a party of some sort where he was standing next to a sign.
Dinner. Yep.
And the sign said, "Farewell, Rob." And I know Rob works in TV up in Washington. Yes. So I text Logan because I know that they're really tight. I haven't talked to Rob since college. Right. So I text Logan. I was like, "Where's Rob going? Did he get a new job or something?" And Logan's like, No, he's getting married. I was like, oh, so that's what farewell means.
Apparently, yes. That was the farewell tour for Rob Jesselson. But no, they did some other stuff. I only joined them for the game that night. But either way, it's good to see them, his bachelor party for that. And as we said, his wedding will be in April in Arizona. So excited for that. Craig, your weekend. Obviously, we know where you were on Saturday.
Yeah.
Let's hear. I mean, there's a lot of things we want to talk about with Illinois football. Yeah. I think the thing that I'm most interested in is just hearing about the experience. What was it like being there? I know you're going to want to talk about what it was like for you as a fan because you haven't done it as a fan since you were a small child. But I mean, what was the experience like post-COVID? So we think, and everything that goes into that.
It was good. It was good. Before we get to that though, Friday night, I did go to a high school football game. I went to St. Joe Ogden.
Oh yeah.
Friday night.
You did.
So
you did.
Last Friday, I got the Louisville high school football experience. A little bit different at St. Joe Ogden. But yeah, I hit up Monticello and St. Joe Ogden, two pretty storied programs in Central Illinois. It was fun to get back. I saw a couple people there that I knew, and I figured we were going to talk about this at some point. We had it on the rundown. But I think Logan knows him as well.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Jim Cotter is a staple in St. Joe Ogden High School. And got some news today that made me really upset that I didn't go say hi to him Friday. I saw him on the sideline. His son plays on the line for St. Joe Ogden. And, it's one of those things where you are like, oh, I'll see him. I'll see him again. I'll see him again soon. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that because Jim Cotter passed away today. I saw it middle of the afternoon. I saw some tweets coming in, and one of those moments where I was like, no, this is not the same Jim Cotter. There's got to be someone else. Cotter covered pretty much everything from Illini to high school sports. Robert Rosenthal was talking about his Danville Dan's coverage that he gave. One of the most genuine, best guys I've ever met. Always had a smile, always had something to talk about. So yeah, that today put Friday in perspective.
Yeah.
Because I saw him walking up and down the sideline, taking notes, covering the game. And at one point his son, Austin, made a tackle for loss or a sack or something. And the whole SJO student section started chanting Austin Cotter's name. And if you know Jim, he loved his kids more than anything. So I'm sure that just put the biggest smile on Jim's face. And I'm glad he got to see that after what happened this weekend. So
yeah,
hate starting the show on a sad note, but I want to honor him and let people know that Jim Cotter was one of the good ones. And we lost him too soon. And I'm really upset at myself for not going out of my way to see him Friday, thinking there was a chance I could see him Saturday at the game, or this Saturday at the football game, or next Friday. Like, it's just, you can't take those chances.
Right.
And I'm really regretting not going and saying hi to Jim. So
yeah,
I'll be thinking about him, his family, and the community in St. Joe for a long time.
No, it's tough. Jim and I crossed paths numerous times when I was back in Danville, when I was working for the Commercial News. He would also work for them as well, covering stories, high school stories and things of that nature. When I was working for the Dans, he was a frequent, fill in for Chad Dare, who is the sports editor there, that would, usually cover the games for the Dans, or for the paper, but Jim would step in and do that as well. So it's incredibly sad when I read that today. Very shocked. Didn't know. I don't think anything was wrong from what I understand. I mean, he was covering. He was, as you said, he was at the game Friday night, and I assume he was at the Illinois game on Saturday. So that's just, it was that one's difficult. Not that old of a guy. But he was passionate about a lot of things, but I said it in a tweet covering sports in general. It was just obviously something that he was incredibly passionate about at all levels, whether it was Illini sports or Dan's games or high school sports, whatever it was. He was just, super passionate, loved what he was doing, loved being a fan, loved covering it, and definitely thinking about him and his family and his friends. And that's definitely a tough one.
Yeah, it was.
I knew we wanted to talk about that. I wasn't exactly sure how we were going to bring that up in this show. But
I figured the start of my weekend, the SJO game.
That
worked.
Definitely.
It was always SJO or high school football in general, or sports in general, Illini or Cubs. That's what Jim Cotter was all about. Always wearing Cubs apparel, hat or something. Brett Bielema opened his press conference on Monday with a statement saying, I heard about the news, and he mentioned Jim's last tweet. I don't have it pulled up, but it was something to the effect of, I'm at my third football game. All three are different levels in the last 3 days, because Friday was his son's high school game, Saturday was Illinois game, and Sunday was a junior football game for his other son. And he ended the tweet with something to the effect of, it's a good thing I love football. And Bielema was like, that's just the perfect description. And it really is. So, rest in peace, Jim Cotter. We're all going to miss you. I think everyone that covers the Illini is going to miss you, because you necessarily haven't covered the Illini, but a lot of people are like, there's so much competition, or you have competitors between the TV stations and the newspapers and websites. Yeah, to an extent, but everyone there is friends. Like, everyone likes everyone. So a big loss today. In the Central Illinois sports world. I know it's hard to transition, but I think something Jim would want us to talk about would be the Illini win. So we'll get into it. It was good. I just told Logan offline a little bit. There were points where I was a little crowded for my liking. There were people getting pretty close to me, so I got up and moved to an area that was a little less crowded. But I mean, it's a good thing that we're having fans in the stands, and the players recognize it after the game. Some momentum swings. You get a little more momentum when the fans are in the stands, as opposed to an empty stadium where, the play happens and then it's kind of back to the quiet and you lose all your momentum. So experience was great. Tailgate was packed. Greensboro, I mean, I've obviously seen it more fuller, because, it was 100 degrees on Saturday, and we are still in a pandemic. So I've definitely seen more people in a tailgate or in the stadium. It wasn't a sellout. I think 41,000 is what was announced. Place holds 60 something. So, but good crowd. I think it would have been more had it not been so hot. I think the heat really turned a lot of people away, and my skin is telling me that it should have turned me away too.
Yeah, you're a little red. For those that are listening at home, Craig definitely got some sun. On Saturday. I just mentioned those are listening at home, and I also just did this thing. I don't know if you caught it. where you put in our notes about talking about the chapters in the description, how we always bring that up at the end of the show. And I just like blatantly just like skipped over it.
Yep.
So let's just go ahead and mention it now. Like, if you don't want to listen to us talk about Illinois football for the next 30 minutes and you want to hear us talk about something else, granted, I'm not sure what those other things are going to be. We're actually going to like have these notes so you can like go to different points in the show. So regardless, I just wanted to mention that because I just like blatantly skipped over it, even though you put it in like large red capital letters in our podcast notes. And I just decided I didn't want to talk about it. So anyway, let's
Logan never listens to me, so it doesn't
I don't
matter.
listen to anything. You're just going to make the font even bigger. Whatever. I didn't like talk about this Twitter accounts or anything like that. Whatever.
No, you glossed over everything that we're supposed to start the show with.
Whatever. There's no rules. Nobody asked us to be
That's
here.
True.
Let's talk about the game itself.
Yeah.
Because Illinois football opened up the college football season. They were one of five FBS level games that took place on Saturday.
Yeah.
And Illinois not only opened up the season, opened up the year, but they opened up with a Big Ten opponent, and they opened up with Nebraska. We talked about this game ad nauseum last week, previewing it, what Illinois needed to do, what we thought was going to happen. I think the biggest takeaway here, Illinois obviously won the game. 30 to 22 was the final. And we can talk about individuals and that type of thing. Illinois did not. I know this is a very obvious statement to make, but I'm going to say it anyway. Illinois did not lose the football game.
Yes.
And I know that's like an obvious thing to say, but I think there's something to that, in that Nebraska clearly lost that football game. And not that Illinois didn't play well enough to win, but they didn't make the mistakes.
Yep.
They executed everything they were trying to do. Was it a perfect game? No, it wasn't. By any stretch of the imagination, especially the last quarter or so. But they didn't make the mistakes. And I think that's going to be something that's going to be huge moving forward in this season, is you have to build on that, because that's what we've seen in the past, is that you lose football games because you just make too many mistakes. And Illinois just didn't do that.
Yeah.
Nebraska did. Illinois didn't. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me. Just watching the game from home. I didn't watch the whole thing. At some point I did have to leave to go over to Chicago, as we talked about. So I listened to most of the last quarter or so on the radio. But either way, I would call it an impressive win. To win at home on Saturday against a Big Ten opponent, who most everybody picked to finish higher than Illinois. Illinois was not the favorite. I think that was a solid start to the Brett Bielema era in Champaign.
Yeah. Yeah. I kept circling around to one word, and I know it was thrown around a lot after the game, but in the middle of the third quarter, I texted my group chat that I have with some Illini alums and some of my best friends. I said, we are a competent football team. The word competent is what describes, hopefully for the rest of the season, describes this football team. Because like you said, there was one turnover, there was a fumble that I think was at end of the first half when I tried to beat the crowd and go get a bottle of water. So I left my seat for just a little bit, which was a whole nother fiasco that I had forgot about till just now. So there was one turnover, but other than that, there were really no mistakes. Actually, the only other mistake was the long Martinez touchdown run. It was, I think, and I don't know that the mistake, I don't think the mistake was on the players there. I think that was a bad play call.
Yeah. And they did a good job of containing him most of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. He got his stats.
That was one time. He's going to do that. That's just the player that he is. He's going to break away at least once a game. You just got to do your best to contain it. Make sure it doesn't happen more than that. Yeah. Illinois, there was another mistake that I think could have seriously costed Illinois
got
the
wiped
game.
Out.
The interception that Satowski threw was that the second quarter?
Second
Before
quarter.
halftime, right?
Second quarter.
That ended up getting called back and for roughing the passer. It ended up being like a 30-yard penalty.
Yeah.
So that was huge. I mean, that was really, I think, probably the difference maker in that entire game.
Yep. I've got on my note, I went back and rewatched the game, got DVR'd it, and went back and rewatched it Saturday night and some into Sunday morning. And I got 2 plays changed the game. It was that one because I'm pretty sure it was Sitkowski's first full drive in because he came in when Peters got hurt.
I think so.
And I think they ran it right up the middle and got stuffed on 3rd and 2 or something like that. Or I don't remember, but he didn't throw it. And then he came in for his first full drive. And that was his first pass. And it was awful. It was like a foot over the receiver's head, 2 feet over the receiver's head, right to the defender. Now, probably some of that was because there was a dude barreling down on him. But it was a terrible pass. So roughing the passer gets called, and then whoever tackled him stood over him and like flexed. So 15 yards for roughing the passer, 15 yards for unsportsmanlike, put Illinois at like the 30. And then they go, and then they that might have been the 3rd quarter, actually. I don't remember. No, it was the first. It was the first half. They go down and score. And then the other play that changed the game was the scoop and score. The scoop and score right before halftime makes it 16-9 going into half. Illinois has all of the momentum. And then they come out in the second half and they have the 8-minute scoring drive to open the second half, which is absolutely unheard of for Illinois. So those are the 2 plays in my eyes that really shifted. The tide really shifted. Illinois did have to hold off Nebraska in the end. They had a chance to win it in the end, but those 2 plays really stuck out as momentum shifters and game changers for me.
That I mean, you're right. Those were both probably the most important plays of the game. I think the two early punts from Blake Hayes, the first that resulted in getting Nebraska pinned to the 1-yard line, and the second one, I have no idea what happened that resulted in a safety.
Craziest football play I've ever seen.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever witnessed on the football field. I have no idea what was going on there with why the returner from Nebraska even went back to catch it. Is the first question, and then decides to toss it out of bounds.
Yeah, straight up threw it. Yeah, he was getting tackled in the end zone, straight up threw it so he wouldn't get a safety. It went out of bounds. They initially called it on the field an illegal forward pass because he threw it to try to avoid the safety. Then they came back and said his knee was down while the ball was in the end zone, which made it a safety. So initially they just wiped out the penalty and gave Illinois the safety. And those were the first points of the college football season. Come on, that, which is awesome.
I think that play would have been a lot more important had Nebraska scored on their last drive. Because it ended up being an 8-point difference. Had they not had that, 6 points, math, that type of stuff. But
they also missed 2 extra points.
Yeah,
which
it wasn't
cost
pretty.
Me the over.
Sorry for your loss. Anyway, Nebraska. I mean, they lost that game, and we'll talk about when we get to our power rankings. I've taken them down several spots. I'm not sure. I mean, I know it's one game, but they just did not look good. And as you said, Illinois was competent. And I think if they continue to be a competent football team, that will get you at least middle of the road in the conference.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's a good place to start for this team. So if they continue to do that, I think that'll be huge.
I mean, now this is not a prediction. This is not me saying it's going to happen, but they could start 6-0.
They could, sure.
They could.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. They could very easily go 3-3 or 2-4. But the first 6 games of their schedule are not the hardest games of the year, so they could go 6-0.
I think last week I asked the question
at like a 10% chance, but
I think last week I asked the question if they would start 0-3. And now you're talking about them going 6-0. So it's crazy how one game changes everything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the individual performances. We mentioned Art Sitkowski, the Rutgers transfer quarterback, who started the game backing up Brandon Peters. We'll touch on Peters here in a little bit about his injury. But Sitkowski came in and played well. I wasn't sure, as you talked about, I wasn't sure what we were going to get from him. He didn't exactly have a lot of success in his first season at Rutgers, threw a ton of interceptions. So when he came in, I think everybody was a little hesitant, like, what are we going to get here? And yes, he did throw that first interception that ended up getting called back. That was the only pick that he threw. So technically he didn't throw any. Yeah. So finished the game 12-15, 124 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad start. I mean, I'll certainly take that from your backup quarterback. We don't really know what's going on with Brandon Peters. I don't know what did Bielema say much today?
He addressed it. He said he doesn't have a diagnosis, or he didn't say this. He didn't give a diagnosis. He didn't rule him out for Saturday, but it didn't sound very convincing that he would play. I mean, he was in a sling.
Yeah,
I that's like a separated shoulder or a collarbone.
Yeah,
in my
I'm not a medical expert, but I'm gonna guess he's probably at least out for a couple games.
Yeah, I would say he's out for like a month at least.
Yeah, at least. So, but either way, Sitkowski came in and did the job well. Yeah. I think, and obviously to get Illinois the first win of the season. Mike Epstein showed that he's legit, and he's the workhorse of that running game. He had a touchdown, about 75 yards. He was great. Isaiah Williams, man, that's the fun part. I mean, I think just like seeing what he did, and from being in that quarterback room to being a multi-use weapon as a receiver and running the ball. I mean, he's going to be fun to watch, and that's just it's a fun thing to have in your arsenal for a coaching staff to watch him play.
Imagine if he would have moved to receiver in 2019 or 2020, what would be happening right now. But yeah, it's fun. I don't know that. I mean, he was in motion every play.
Yeah.
Every play he was going from one side of the field to the other before the snap. So he probably ran for like 16 miles during the game, which I know the point of motion is to throw the defense off or figure out what the defense is running. But I don't necessarily want to say that it worries me that he's in motion so much, because it's not like a full sprint. It's just like a little bit of a jog. But yeah, you got to get him the ball. I think he touched the ball. I think they have 5 catches and 3 rushes, or I think he had like 8 touches. I'm pretty sure he had 8 touches.
Three catches and 2 rushes.
Okay, so 5 touches.
Or 6 catches and 2 rushes. Okay. 8 total.
8 touches. That's what I thought.
8 touches.
I would like to see more than 10 touches for him. I would like to see them get him the ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, did you watch the game? Like the whole game?
Well, not the whole game. No, I watched about the first 3 quarters.
I don't know which drive it was. I think it was the long drive to start the second half, the third quarter. He took, and I don't know if it was an end around, but he went around the end of the line. I don't know if it was a pass or a quick out or a slant or what, but he went down the sideline, and there were 4 Nebraska guys coming from like the goalpost at him towards the left sideline. He ran past 2 of them and then just stuck his foot in the ground, which unfortunately was out of bounds, and made a hard cut right. And the 2 that still could have got him just flew right by him, and he went into the end zone. He had stepped out, so he was out at like the 3, but that was one of the quickest
I
moves
did see that.
That I had seen. Do you remember the video of Lamar Jackson in high school where he's like running to the pylon and he just stops on a dime, and the guy that was going for him like dives and he like flies in front of Lamar, and Lamar like points at him? That's what it reminded me of. Like the 2 dudes just went flying. Isaiah stopped on a dime and changed direction. So need to get him the ball more.
Nope, I agree.
Epstein, I was shocked that he started. I was not expecting that. I was stunned that he started.
Yeah. And I think the other part of that is that we didn't see much Chase Brown.
Yes.
Which
Bielema said after the game that he tweaked a little minor injury. And they didn't want to risk him getting more severely hurt because he said it's going to be a quick heal. He said on Monday, it's going to be a quick heal. So they didn't want to get him more hurt early in the game. And then, I mean, they ran four running backs: Norwood, Love, Brown, Epstein. I think they ran 5 running backs.
Yeah.
Hayden.
Chase Hayden had 4 carries.
So they're 6 deep at the running back position.
Yeah.
So
it was definitely a running back by committee type of situation. But yeah, I mean, we'll get more Chase Brown here in the next few weeks. So that'll be nice to get him more involved as well.
I was worried about the offensive line at the start of the game. I don't know about you. I'm going to make myself look really bad here. And I'm glad I didn't tweet it. So I maybe shouldn't say it. But halfway through the first quarter, late in the first quarter, the thought popped in my head, Lovie Smith's offense was better than this. Because they were getting they were getting the offensive line was, I mean, I don't think it's any secret. The offensive line was atrocious the first quarter. Like they had negative rushing yards late in the first quarter. It was awful. They were getting no push. Obviously that changed. And they ended up playing really, really well. Second quarter through the third, but I was worried. I was very, very worried in the first quarter. Was it 2-0 after one quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very worried. So I'm glad to see that change and they really picked it up. I think Bielema said in his presser that Doug Kramer had 19 knockdowns, which he said is the most that he's ever seen. So yeah, ended up playing really well.
No, it was good to see. We'll see more as the season goes on, but there was certainly some questions there. A couple more shout outs I want to give. Carterville zone, Luke Ford.
Finally.
Luke Ford had finally got in on some action. The Georgia transfer, Carterville native. He had three receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown. That's great. I mean, that's been a road.
A long
that
time
has been
coming.
A road.
Yeah.
The poor guy.
Do you know where the road started? Do you remember? His original commitment was to Brett Bielema in Arkansas. He decommitted from Arkansas and went to Georgia.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's had quite the road.
Yeah.
But it's definitely good to see him getting involved, and they're definitely going to utilize him quite a bit.
First play of the game, 18-yard catch from him right across the middle. Play action right across the middle. It was perfect.
That's the way to start it. The way to start it. Calvin Hart Jr., a scoop and score. Mm-hmm. He was they were giving out conference players of the week this week.
That was so ridiculous. Stupid. So stupid.
There was only one conference game, so let's just give the awards anyway. So he was the defensive player of the conference for the week. Either way, it's still great for him. And then I mentioned Blake Hayes earlier. I mean, those 2 punts, especially early, like that was just that's incredible. Just like watching him do that.
It's amazing.
As soon as they happened, I went straight to Pat McAfee's Twitter account just to see what he was saying. And he had all sorts of things. He had his commentary during it. Like it was great.
Yeah, he was fired up.
For the brand, baby.
I forgot what I was going to say.
Punters are people too.
The James McCourt. I know he missed the 55 or 57 yarder, but I mean, the leg would have been good from 65. He just missed it a little left. But something that I didn't notice live, but I noticed when I went back, rewatched, and also people were talking about it after the game. After one of Illinois' touchdowns, they were flagged for a unsportsmanlike. So the kickoff got moved from the 35 to the 20, and it was a touchback. He kicked it to the end zone for a touchback from the 20. Like, what?
Yeah,
that's incredible. And when you can do that, Bielema said it after the game. When you can game plan with your specialists, they call them the lads because one's Irish and one's Australian, for those that didn't know, which is awesome. When you can game plan around or with a weapon in your kickers, that's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, let's kind of wrap up that.
Yep.
Illinois took down Nebraska in week 0, 30-22. And now they will host Texas San Antonio this weekend. That is a primetime game on Big Ten Network. Craig, you and I talked about it right before we started recording. Illinois is the favorite, but it ain't by much. This is, I mean, it's hard to say it's a trap game because Illinois has not exactly been a team that's trappable, I don't think. But I mean, let's be honest. I don't know that it's a trap game, but it's definitely not going to be a walk in the park.
No,
they're gonna turn around right away and get a tough opponent. I don't know a ton about UTSA, and I don't know that you know a ton either. But
do you know their mascot? It's one of the more unique ones in college.
Anteaters?
No, that's UC
Roadrunners.
Roadrunners. There you go.
Yeah, I knew it was something like that.
UTSA Roadrunners. So they went 7-5 last year in the COVID season, made it to a bowl game. Last year was their head coach's first year. They won 3 in a row, I believe, to end the year. Then they lost their bowl game. Were there bowl games last year? There were regular bowl games last year, right?
There were.
I don't remember 2020.
I don't think there was as many.
Cut them down. Yeah, that sounds right. But they lost their bowl game. They played BYU to a 7-point game pretty early in the year. I'm pretty sure they have a lot back. Bielema said between the two teams, there's going to be 77 seniors, I think, and Illinois has got 41. So that means UTSA has 36 seniors. So
math is hard.
A lot of experience on the field Saturday night. Their leading passer, Frank Harris, returns from last year, and their leading rusher, Sincere McCormick. Harris is a lefty. I know Bielema pointed that out. That kind of changes some game plan, I guess, which makes sense because you want to roll out to your strong side. So I think Harris missed a couple games last year he either missed a couple games last year or he took over the starting spot mid-year because a different guy was their leading passer for a couple of the early games. He threw for over 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, also ran for more than 500. So kind of a dual threat. McCormick ran for almost 1,500 and 11 touchdowns. So sounds like a spread offense, mobile quarterback with a running back, some read options, zone options, stuff like that. So I guess kind of similar. Martinez is a spread guy that can run it. Obviously, he ran for 75 yards of touchdowns. So yeah, it's no slouch. It's not going to be easy. And I saw someone on Twitter, I think it was Trevor Valise with ESPN CU in Champaign. He said, how does Illinois always get the good not mid-major, that's a basketball term, low major team? You know what I'm saying? Like they caught Western Kentucky when they were at their best 4 or 5 years ago. They caught Eastern Michigan when they were at their best. Western Michigan, Middle Tennessee State, like the what's supposed to be pretty easy game on your schedule. Yeah. Whoever Illinois schedules 8 years ago always hit the uphill climb and peak right when Illinois plays them.
That's a good point.
It could be tough. The line is 6.
Do you have any keys for the game, Craig? Do you have any keys for the game for the Illini?
Exactly what it was for Nebraska. Don't turn the ball over. Don't commit penalties, and don't make stupid mistakes. Like, stick to your game plan. And I don't think probably up front is where you win. If Illinois' offensive and defensive lines can win, I think the team is going to win. So where I would go, I think you can stick those in all 12 games. And if you control those, you're going to have a chance. You might not win every game, but I think you're going to be close.
Do you want to talk about your pick for this game now, or do you want to wait and do that when we do the rest of them? Wait.
We'll do with the rest.
All right.
That's what we call a tease.
Okay. That's what we in the business call a tease. All right. So we will give our predictions for the Illini and Texas San Antonio here in a short bit. But before we do that, we do want to go over the Big Ten Power Rankings, which will be more of a big deal as we get a little further into the season. But as we mentioned, there was literally one game this week. So I don't think that our Power Rankings have changed that much.
I just hope they're not the same.
Granted, I did mention that I put Nebraska a little lower. I mean, we started out differently, so it's obviously not going to be the same unless you change things at the top. But
That's true.
How do you want to do this?
Same.
You just want to give me
Do the same.
yours? You give me, just do one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. So who do you got at 14?
Rutgers stays at 14.
Still got Rutgers. Okay. 13?
You still have Rutgers at 14 too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I still have Rutgers at 14.
Um,
13?
Michigan State stays at 13.
Michigan State. Yep.
Oh boy.
12?
This is where I dropped Nebraska to.
Ooh. Okay.
I dropped them to
All
12.
Right. I kept Purdue at 12.
Okay.
But I put Nebraska at 11.
I'm not giving up on Nebraska. And
That's fair.
I don't know why. I mean, I dropped them this far, but I don't think they're this bad. I just think there's just a lot going on in that program right now.
Yeah.
And
they have a lot to prove to me right
yeah,
now
yeah.
before I'm willing to put them any higher than where they're at. I have them at 11. I have them behind Illinois. I have a 10.
Okay.
I assume you probably have the same thing, or did you have Illinois higher?
Nope. I got Illinois at 10. I got Purdue at 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So our 10 through 14 is pretty much the same, except one switch in there.
Yeah.
9. I don't remember where we had that was the same last week. Who do you have at 9?
I moved the Terps from 10 to 9. Maryland.
Okay. I have Maryland at 9 as well. 8.
Northwestern goes from 9
Northwestern.
to 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have Northwestern there. 7. What do you
This
have
is
at
where
7?
I had Illinois, or I had Nebraska at 8. So my 7 through 1 is the same.
Okay. So
Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State. From 7 to
mine
1.
is Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State.
Okay. So
Again,
Illinois sitting at 10 for both of us.
We just did this last week, and there wasn't a lot that was going to change. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We spent a lot of time on that, but yes, Illinois at both of us sitting at the 10 spot. We'll see how well that holds up.
Mhm.
As we talked about, they're going to get a nice test on Saturday to see where we think. But
So I wanna
the rest
talk
of the conference.
I want to talk in hypotheticals here.
Oh, I love a good hypothetical.
So Illinois is 1-0. So if Illinois loses Saturday, will the loss hurt more because they're 1-0 as opposed to if they had lost to Nebraska? Am I making sense?
Will it hurt more now that they're 1-0 as opposed to if they were 0-1?
Yeah. Because there's some hope now. People
I
think
mean,
Gillum is good.
Might sting a little more, but I don't know that it necessarily hurts more. Does that make sense? Can it sting and
They're
not
like
hurt?
the same thing, but sure.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I just think it's going to suck a lot more now if they lose because you beat Nebraska.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to suck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That's fair. Yeah. Let's just hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
For our sakes and the sakes of Illini fans around the country. Okay, let's do our pick 'em. We got a lot of games to talk about. We're not going to spend much time on these games, but are at least going to rattle them off. Craig, our head pick collaborator, is that what we're going to call you? The pick master. You put compiled. You compiled the list.
Yeah, I compiled the list. Yes.
We're going to call you the compiler.
Yeah.
Craig compiled the list for us. Basically all the Big Ten games and then a few other notable national games as well. So we're just going to go through real quick and give you our pick for these games. And then we're going to see.
Let's go Big Ten games last. So let's go the national games first.
We'll start with the national games and then we'll do Big Ten. Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. Let's start with the team that Craig is wearing on his shirt. The Southern Illinois Salukis of the FCS and of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, both where Craig and I went to school. The Salukis open up their season at Southeast Missouri. That will be on Thursday night on ESPN Plus. The Salukis are number 7 in the country in the FCS. SEMO is not ranked. Craig, what is your pick?
Can I say something first, though?
Absolutely.
Do you look at what I write on the rundown? Right above Big Ten.
I copied it.
We got to let them know how we did last week.
Oh, I copied it. I'm looking at something else. Yeah, okay, you're right. I just kind of skipped over that. I do look at your stuff. I just, for some reason, just kind of skip over it. Yes, let's talk about last week real quick.
Yeah.
There was only 3 games.
There was only 3, but yeah, we got to get the results.
I went 3-0. I went 3-0 because I took Illinois. Craig went 2-1 because he took Nebraska.
Yeah.
The other 2 games were UConn getting their butt kicked by whoever that was.
Fresno State.
And then UCLA beating Hawaii. Those were the 3 games we picked. As I said, I went 3-0. So I'm starting this year 3-0. Craig is 2-1. Yeah. We'll see how well that goes and how long that lasts. Okay. SIU SEMO. Let's go. Let's hear it. What do you got?
If people listen and want to go with, like, keep track with us, email us your picks. We'll do like a standings or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna start a pool.
Just for fun.
Okay, just for fun.
Let's just see how we're doing.
Any of you 3 listeners that want to do that. Okay.
I'm going with the dogs.
Yep.
Gotta go with the dogs.
Go with the dogs.
I like these matchups, like the SIU versus SEMO, SIU versus Murray State. Kind of wish SIU would play Eastern Illinois. Like I like those regional matchups, so I always get excited for this. But I'm going with the Salukis.
Yep, I'm going with the Salukis as well. Nick Hill and his crew got a good thing going in Carbondale. I don't see them starting off 0-1. So I'm going to take them at SEMO on Thursday night. Now, I'm going to say this. Craig has done this compiled this information. I'm assuming everything here is right. I did not double check anything in terms of these dates or times.
Oh,
should I even mention? Are they all right?
They should be.
Okay. All right. We're going to go with that.
I thought you were talking about the lines. No,
I'm not worried about the lines. So we're going to keep going with now national, more ranked games. Mm-hmm. This would be Friday on ESPN. North Carolina goes to Virginia Tech. North Carolina is number 10 in the country, and they're the 6-point favorite. Where are you going with that game?
I like Virginia Tech, but they've just done nothing since Beamer left. So, I mean, with Mac Brown at North Carolina, he's got them rolling. Sam Howell at quarterback. I think you got to go North Carolina.
I would agree with you there. I'm going to take North Carolina there as well. I think they'll go on the road and start their season 1-0. The Fighting Irish, they play on Sunday. This is kind of confusing because these games are scattered throughout and they're different dates. And because the NFL hasn't started, there's games on Sundays and Mondays and Saturdays and Fridays and Thursdays and every night of the week. But Notre Dame starts the season at Florida State. Notre Dame is coming into the season as the number 9 team in the country. They are the favorites by a score and a half, a score and a field goal. We'll call it that. I'm going to take the Irish on the road. What is that supposed to mean?
You live there.
I've not been to a single Fighting Irish football game in my 6 years of being here. I don't have a single Irish article of clothing. I do have a Rudy Pop figure. That's about the only Notre Dame thing that I have to my possessions. So, but I am going with the Irish. I think they'll go on the road and take down Florida State on Sunday. What say you, Craig?
For the sake of the show, I don't want to pick the favorite in every game.
I am not doing that.
So I'm going to take Florida State. They're going to be
Craig takes Florida State.
They're going to be pumped. They're going to be pumped up. Opening the season, Bobby Bowden passed away, so they're going to want to play really, really hard to play like his teams used to play. It's at home for them. I'm taking Florida State.
You're taking the emotional card. I get that. I understand. Yeah. If we finally disagree on something to start this show. All right. So we'll move on to Saturday, the number 1 team in the country, the Crimson Tide of Alabama. They will host Florida. Now, this is for the Roosevelt Belt.
Miami,
if you're familiar with the Roosevelt. What did I say?
You said Florida. Miami,
okay.
Florida.
Miami. Okay. Miami, Florida. Okay. As opposed to Miami, Ohio. You really had to put Florida and confuse me. You think that I was going to think that Miami, Ohio is number 18th ranked in the country? Come on, Craig.
14th.
Whatever. I'm done with you.
Tell the people about the Roosevelt
Belt. It's been a long day.
Cool.
It's been a long day, man. Just leave me alone. The Roosevelt Belt. This is something that my dad is spearheading. He did come up with this, but he is like, he loves it. But the Roosevelt Belt basically takes football games all the way back to the start of college football. With the winner of the very first game, they held the Roosevelt Belt, and then whoever beat them, that person had the Roosevelt Belt. So it's like they track this, somebody has tracked this all the way up through the course of football history, college football history, and that's just kind of how it works. So Alabama has held the belt for a little while now, and they hold the belt right now. You could read more about it. You can follow Roosevelt Belt on Twitter.
Has Illinois ever held the Roosevelt Belt?
That's a great question. We should probably get Tim on the phone.
Okay,
I don't remember.
Tim, I got a question for you.
Feel like they have at one point. I don't remember. It's something we definitely talked about.
Okay.
We could talk about the Roosevelt Belt more down the road, but Alabama does hold it right now. They are the favorites against Miami, not Florida, not Miami of Ohio, Miami. They're playing that game in Atlanta. Craig, you taking the Crimson Tide, or are you going to take the not Florida Gators?
I love a good number 1 seed upset. So that's
not happening.
I think the Roosevelt Belt is going to head back.
Why are you doing this? Okay. God, like, just because you want to be argumentative, or
no, Alabama?
Or what? Like, that's just.
And I think they cover
Alabama
18.5. I think they cover.
Roll Tide. All right. This one we might have some disagreements on. This is definitely the biggest game of the week. This is number 3, Clemson, and number 5, Georgia, being played in Charlotte. Clemson enters the game as the favorite. Georgia is down a few guys. I did read that today. They got a couple injury situations, and I think they might even have a couple COVID situations. If I'm
who was that?
Georgia. Maybe it's not COVID. Maybe it's just injuries. I do know they are a little shorthanded. Either way, Clemson is the small favorite, 3.5 points. Yeah. Are you taking Clemson or are you taking Georgia? This game is on Saturday night on ABC in Charlotte.
What a day on ABC.
Right?
2 really good games, 3:30 and 7:30. Yeah, the bad part about us picking these on a Monday night is we've got like 5 days for injuries or something to pop up. But I'm going with Clemson.
I'm going to take Georgia.
I figured that's where you were going to go after you said something about not picking all the favorites earlier.
I mean, that's not the only one, I don't think. But yes, that's fair.
Like I said 2 weeks ago when we were doing our preview, I just haven't heard a lot about Georgia this year. And normally I feel like I've heard them like, oh, they're going to knock off Bama. And maybe I'm just not paying attention or not seeing it. But I'm going to go with Clemson on this one.
Okay. So we're split there. Next, Craig's new hometown. Yeah. The Cardinals of Louisville. Is that a Tuesday game?
So there's literally Monday night. So it'll Monday be on probably when we record.
Oh, you're right. Monday night.
Yeah. If we continue to record on Mondays, it will likely be playing while we are recording next week's episode.
Got it. So the Cardinals of Louisville, they will play at Atlanta against Ole Miss, where Tyler Wooten is. He's at Ole Miss.
Yeah. We just
are you taking Ole Miss?
Shout outs here.
Whatever.
That's like all we do.
That's all we do. What else are you going to do on this show? Where are you going? Ole Miss or Louisville?
There's a small chance I go to this game because it's Labor Day.
It's in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know. It's not like 6 hours.
You're going to Atlanta.
Potentially. I've thought about it.
Boy, bye.
I'm going with Ole Miss. I think they're going to be really good. I mean, if they were in any conference other than the SEC, they might win that conference. Maybe not, but they would definitely compete for it. They're a 10-point favorite. Louisville, I think, is going to be better than projections, but I don't think they win this one. I'm going with Ole Miss.
Okay. And the last non-Big Ten game we're going to pick.
Did you pick that?
Ole Miss. I was starting to say it, and then I kind of forgot about it. I'm taking Ole Miss as well. And then the other Saturday night game, this one on Fox. This is LSU going to UCLA. UCLA, who just played this past weekend against Hawaii, now gets to host number 16 ranked LSU. LSU is the 4-point favorite. Craig, you taking the Bruins or are you taking the Tigers?
I'm taking the Bruins.
Ooh.
I think they've got a game under their belt, so they're kind of more in the rhythm. And what was the Hurricane's name? Ida. Ida has
that's a good point.
supplanted
That's a good point.
LSU. They boarded up their team buses. I think it was Saturday, the day before hurricane hit, made landfall. They boarded all their buses up and went to, I think, Dallas. Took all their equipment, and I think I saw a tweet that's normally like a 4 or 5 hour drive, and it took them like 12 or 15 hours because of everyone trying to leave that Gulf area. So too much going on with Louisville, and I like the fact that UCLA has played a game. So I'm going with Chip Kelly.
Okay, I'm going to take LSU, despite the things that are going on down in the Bayou. I'm going to take LSU. Okay, let's move to the Big Ten. Let's go through these really quick because we are already pushing about an hour on this show, and I have other things I want to talk about.
Okay.
So, starting the Big Ten on Thursday night, Rutgers hosts Temple. Rutgers is a 2-touchdown favorite. Are you taking Rutgers or are you taking Temple?
Give me Rutgers this week.
Okay, I will take Rutgers as well. The other Thursday night Big Ten game is another big one with, I guess, kind of a big one. Number 4, Ohio State goes to Minnesota. That is a conference game. Ohio State is a 2-touchdown favorite there at Minnesota. Are you taking Ohio State?
I do love
taking the upset.
I love the Gophers this year, but not against Ohio State. Give me the Buckeyes.
No, me either. All Buckeyes all day. Okay, moving on to Saturday games. Michigan State goes to Northwestern. Northwestern is 3-point favorite. Michigan State, as we've talked about, is not going to be very good this year. Northwestern will probably be a little bit better. I'm going to take Northwestern. Are you going to take Northwestern?
So the line that I looked at this morning had it at 3, Northwestern by 3, but it opened at Northwestern by like 6.5. So it's trending towards Michigan State. I don't know why, but I am going to take Northwestern still.
Okay. A big one, the big noon kickoff on Saturday.
Yeah.
The number 19 Penn State and number 12 Wisconsin. That game is in Madison. Wisconsin is a 4.5-point favorite. These are the two teams that both of us have put, and most everybody has really put 2 and 3 in the conference, though the order kind of varies depending on where you think. Penn State obviously has to play the same division as Ohio State, so their chance of playing for a conference championship is probably a lot less likely.
Yeah.
But Wisconsin, this is going to be a big game for Wisconsin, especially. I think Wisconsin, if they get this win, I think their road to a Big Ten championship game is probably a little lighter for them. So are you taking Wisconsin at home or are you going to take Penn State on the road?
I want to take Penn State so bad, but I'm going to take Wisconsin.
I'm going to take Wisconsin as well. I think them playing at home is going to be an advantage for them.
Yeah.
It's going to be close. I do think those are, as we said, I think those are clearly the number 2 and 3 teams in the conference. I think when it comes down to it, I'm taking Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Another noon kickoff on Saturday. Western Michigan goes to Michigan in Ann Arbor. The Wolverines there are 17.5-point favorites. Any chance you take Western in that, or is that all Michigan?
Michigan and the cover.
Yeah, I will take Michigan there as well. Another noon game, this one on Big Ten Network. Fordham goes to Nebraska. The Cornhuskers, who we just talked about, lost their week 0 matchup against Illinois. They'll be looking to bounce back against a far lesser opponent. Have a hard time picking against the Cornhuskers there.
Yep, they get the win.
Yep, Nebraska there. This is a good one. I'm very curious to see where you go here. I think we might be split here. I think it's a very good chance. Indiana goes to Iowa. Indiana is currently ranked 17th in the preseason poll. Iowa 18th in the preseason poll. Iowa playing at home is the 3.5-point favorite. You take an Indiana to continue on from their surprising solid season last year, or are you going to take the Hawkeyes?
I really don't know. Oh man, this one's tough. This one's very tough. I am gonna go red and go with Indiana. I'm gonna go with Indiana. Yeah.
I thought this one would be one where we're split. I'm also taking Indiana. There's just something about it. I just feel like they're gonna keep riding what they had last year, and I don't see them necessarily contending for that division title. But I think they're going to have a pretty darn good season. I think it's going to start this in week 1 at Iowa.
Yeah.
Three left. West Virginia goes to Maryland. West Virginia is the 3-point favorite. This one is a 3:30 kickoff on Saturday. You want to take the Terps or are you going to take West Virginia?
I don't know hardly anything about West Virginia, but they're a road favorite. So give me the home underdog. I'll take Maryland.
I'll take West Virginia. I'm not really sure why. As you stated, you don't know much about them. I definitely don't know much about them. I originally thought I might go Maryland on that, but I'm actually going to change my mind at the last minute, and I'm going to change to West Virginia. So West Virginia over Maryland for Logan. Mark it down. Two left. Oregon State goes to Purdue on Saturday at 7 p.m. on FS1. Yikes. Purdue is a 6-point favorite. You're going to take Purdue at home, or are you going to take the Beavers in West Lafayette? Craig Choate.
Yeah, I'm here. I had to check this because I thought this game was at Oregon State, but it is at Purdue. I thought I missed.
Okay.
I thought I missed
because I did not double check this stuff, so we might be spewing out false information.
It is at Purdue.
Okay.
And I don't think the Beavers can replicate their basketball success, so I'm going to go with Purdue.
I'll go with Purdue as well, although Purdue's not probably going to be very good either. All right, our last pick of the night of the day is also one of the last games of the day on Saturday. UTSA, as we talked about, goes to Champaign. Illinois is the 6.5-point favorites. Craig, are you taking the Illini? Last week you did not take the Illini, and they ended up winning.
They won,
and as a result of that, you are now 2-1. So are you going to continue to not take the Illini, or are you going to take the orange and blue to win on Saturday?
They're both orange and blue.
Good point. Where is your Lee Corso helmet thing mask to put on? Do you have anything behind you? You should have one. I don't know what it would be.
That's
chief headdress.
Tiny.
Oh yeah, put
Illinois helmet.
That helmet on. Put that helmet on.
I'm going Illinois. Yeah, I think they win.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Illinois is going to start the season 2-0, although it's certainly going to be a tough game for them on Saturday. Hard, as I said, it's hard to call it a trap game for me personally, but I think they do come away with that and start the season with a perfect 2-0 record. So there we go. Those are our picks for week 1 of the college football season. We will see how we do. Are you confident with your picks?
No,
Craig?
Never.
No, absolutely not. We took a lot of the favorites there. There wasn't a lot to be surprised with, but either way, we're going to go with that. So a few things we do want to talk about before we shut the show down. I know we are at least over an hour on this. Excuse me.
Got all the time in the world.
One more, at least a Illini thing.
Yeah.
Brad Underwood's going to be on Hot Ones.
How about that?
So, yeah, I think it was Joey Wagner had Sean Evans on his podcast for Illini Inquirer. Sean Evans, who hosts Hot Ones, is a U of I grad. I believe he's from the Chicago area.
I think so.
And there had been talks that Sean had said he wanted to get Brad on his show. He wanted, he obviously would have loved to do it when Illinois was playing in the tournament, but that was never going to happen. But Sean was in Champaign at the game on Saturday, and Illinois basketball, their Twitter account tweeted out a little tease that there's going to be some sort of Hot Ones collaboration with Brad Underwood. Yeah. So I'm very excited. I'm a big fan of Hot Ones. I definitely enjoy that show. It's just fun to see the celebrities that he has on that show react. Mm-hmm. If you're unfamiliar with Hot Ones, basically Sean Evans hosts this show on YouTube where he interviews celebrities, music artists, actors, comedians, whatever, and asks them questions. But with every question comes a hotter sauce, and they're basically eating chicken wings. And every question they do a hotter sauce that goes up the scale. And so by the end of it, these people are just fuming out the ears and they're sweating. They can't even answer the questions. Like it gets pretty funny sometimes. So very excited to see Brad on this. I don't know what it's going to, I don't know if it's going to be, I'm going to guess it's probably going to be on the Illinois YouTube page. I have no idea what they're going to do with it. Yeah. I don't know that it's going to be on the Hot One specific YouTube. Either way, that's going to be pretty cool. Pretty excited to see that.
It sure looked like a full production. I think it was,
Okay.
I think it was either Illini basketball or Fighting Illini's Insta story. Like they had the black curtains and like really good cameras and like it looked like Sean Evans had his full team. So
Okay.
I think it was him doing it. I don't know that, but I think it was him doing it. I don't see why they wouldn't do a full episode. I think people understand.
No, it wasn't that it wasn't going to be a full episode. I just don't know that
where it was going to be.
That Brad Underwood would be somebody they would put on the hot ones, like actual shit. Like that to me would be surprising, but if Sean has all the pull there, then why not?
Yeah.
So either way, that's pretty cool. Pretty excited about that. Anything else, Illini? I know Illinois basketball had some like recruiting news and stuff the past few weeks with Reggie Bass pulling out, which we kind of saw coming. With the other recruits that they had gotten.
They had a lot on campus this week. There had been no commits as of yet. Monday at 6:45 Eastern time. So it was a big weekend. I know a couple of their high targets are likely going other directions. So they've kind of had to narrow down on who they wanted, but yeah, it was a big weekend for them and football recruiting. There were a lot of recruits on campus. It was a huge weekend for both programs.
They were definitely, both programs were taking advantage of the atmosphere. National game. Only, one of only 3 national games really in the country. All eyes were going to be on Champaign. First game back from the pandemic. Like that was definitely the atmosphere to be at if you're, trying to bring in recruits. So hopefully a lot of positive will come from that, from the recruiting side for both football and basketball. A couple baseball things I touched on, the Cubs a little bit at the top of the show. Your boy Yachty signed a 1-year extension for next season to remain with the Cardinals, and then came out and said that was going to be his last season. Are you shocked by either of those things? No, not at all. I'm glad it got done. Do I love the thought of a 40-year-old Yachty Molina or 39-year-old Yachty Molina being the everyday catcher for a full season for $10 million? No. But the nostalgic feel. I can't see him wearing another uniform. So bring Wayno and Yachty back for one more year next year. I mean, Wainwright's one of the best pitchers in the National League right now. He's got like a 1.3 ERA in August, 5-1. So yeah, give him one more contract. Let them both set right off in the sunset. What really needs to happen is Major League Baseball needs to tell the NL that they can have the DH, and you can sign Albert Pujols to a 1-year deal. Oh my God. And all 3 of them can play 1 more year and then call it quits. You want that? If he's a DH, if he's willing to DH twice a week, 3 times a week to be a Cardinal and retire a Cardinal and play with Yachty and Wayno, yeah, sure. Okay. Hey, as long as we get rid of Matt Carpenter, that's fine. Yeah, well, that's true. Bring back the salsa. Another baseball thing of note. What do you? I don't even know what to say about this. So, if you're unfamiliar, yes, Craig is giving me thumbs down. Javi Baez, who is now a member of the New York Mets, and he was not the only one. There was a few others that were joining him in this adventure. Javi's not been playing well of late, especially since he went to the Mets. The Mets in general haven't been playing well. Yeah. So the fans at Citi Field have been booing the Mets a lot, booing the players when they perform poorly, as fans do. Yep. Javi and others, including Francisco and Lindor, and I read Kevin Pillar was another one, have started now, at least they've done this a couple times, booing the fans, giving the fans their thumbs down when the players do something well. I don't really know what to think about this. I think it's kind of ridiculous, but I also think it's also being overblown. Now, like Mets personnel are coming out and saying we don't tolerate this. This isn't fair. Mets fans seem to be all butthurt about this. Cubs fans are loving it. Like Cubs fans are all about it. I think the whole thing is just ridiculous and overblown. it's Javi being Javi. Personally, I think that's just something that Cubs fans are used to, that Mets fans, they're just a different breed. I will say that. I'm sure, it's just a different group of people. I think based on the statement that was released through the owner, whoever, I don't remember, the GM, whoever it was from the Mets, basically saying we're not tolerating this, basically indicates to me that Javi Baez will not be in a Mets uniform next year, which doesn't really shock me either.
Yep.
I'm not and I mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. I'm not predicting that Javi Baez comes back to the Cubs next year. I think that there's going to be several shortstops available. I think he is probably going to get the least amount of money of all of them.
Yeah.
And his value is probably not as high as he thinks it is.
Yeah.
And the Cubs don't really have a great shortstop on the roster. So I'm just kind of thinking that there's probably a good chance, because he also knows that the Cubs fans appreciate him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to get that in Chicago. Like it's just not, like, even when he struggles, like the Cubs fans aren't going to boo him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of my prediction. I think there's probably a good chance that Javi Baez comes back to the Cubs next year.
Yeah.
How do you feel about booing the fans? Are you pro booing the fans? Are you anti booing the fans?
I think it's a terrible look for your organization. I think it's a terrible look for your organization. And it, like, the two faces of it were your big trade deadline acquisition to try your playoff push, and your huge off-season acquisition to try and turn it around in Francisco Lindor, who someone dropped in my fantasy league for 20. It was the salary thing. It was $32 salary, and he was $590, and he's hitting like 220, and he dropped him. And Sunday was the last day you could pick someone up and still keep them for next year. Anybody picked up now through the end of the year has to be dropped at the end of the year, and you can't keep them. And I mean, I picked him up for $550. So, I mean, he's a little bit cheaper, but I don't think he's as bad as his numbers are this year. So
no,
I got him, but it's just a bad look for the franchise and the organization. And I'm kind of with you. I don't know that it's a huge deal. But I'm kind of anti-booing your own team anyways. Boo the other team if you want. If the Mets are playing the Braves, and Mets fans, boo the Braves all you want. Like, we were booing Nebraska Saturday. Like, do that all you want, but booing your own players, I'm very anti that. So
yeah, I mean, I get there's plenty of different takes on this. I mean, the players are getting paid millions of dollars to be out there, and the fans have the right to. Yeah, the fans are paying X amount of dollars for their tickets. They have the right to do that. I mean, if you want to boo them,
if you're gonna boo them, just don't go. Like, why waste your money? If they're playing bad, why are you paying to go?
I think the whole thing is ridiculous, and I can't help but laugh. Yeah. That's kind of my take on it. Okay. A couple other things before we sign off for the night. Big Brother had another week of a lot of nothing. I'm not going to sit here and like try to compare season to season and tell you that this season is awful. There's not a lot happening. There's one alliance that has essentially ran everything, but I don't even know that I would say they've ran everything. They've just managed to not get evicted. I don't really know that
they're running it.
I mean, they have put themselves in the position to be in this. I just don't see there being anybody in there that's like a true puppet master. Like, when I think of running the house, like, that's the type of thing that I think about. I don't think there really is one. I think there are players that are playing really well, comparatively to the rest of the house. But the cookout continues to roll.
Yeah, I just think
they got out there.
I just think week one, they formed this alliance, and they've stuck to it. And then, what was it, 3 or 4 weeks ago, when I told you, I said, this plan Tiffany has is maybe the smartest thing I've ever seen on Big Brother.
No, for sure.
And that's what they're sticking to. So no, not one person has to, or 2 people have to run the house, because all 6 of them are like, all right, I might get nominated, I might get put on the block, but it's next to my number 2. But I know, I trust the cookout. That's the plan that I know I might go on the block, but I know I'm not going home. And all 6 of them are sticking to that. And that's going to be the final 6.
Yeah.
Unless Alyssa, Sarah Beth, or Claire win that HOH right before, that's going to be the final 6.
Yeah. I'm not totally sure what's happened in the house this week. I haven't seen all the spoilers.
I haven't either, actually.
If they were smart, they would vote Xavier out if he's still on the block, because I think he's probably going to win at this point if he's still at the end. But they're not going to do that. The cookouts is holding strong, which I respect that 100%. But yes, it looks like Sarah Beth is likely going to be evicted this week unless she wins POV, which I'm going to guess she probably doesn't. And then it'll be, Alyssa and or Claire that follow her.
Yeah.
So
it's a 3-person block this week. So 2 of them are Kai and X.
But I think if Xavier wins POV, then there's just 2 people. I don't think they won't replace him.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But either way, we'll kind of go backtrack. Derek X was evicted. Basically, the cookout got out their, strongest competitor at that point. He was about all that was left that they were really worried about. And then Tiffany won the HOH. This whole coin of destiny, that whole high rollers room, I think just kind of backfired on production. I don't think it really played out at all like they were hoping it would, which happens a lot in Big Brother. But Claire won the coin of destiny competition. Derek F was the only person that also played, but he threw the competition. So then Claire won the coin flip to then take over the HOH, which Tiffany orchestrated. Her and Hannah basically orchestrated that to happen so that Claire is now the HOH and cannot play in the HOH next week.
Smart.
So the cookout will have all 6 of their people playing for that one. And they knew that Claire wasn't going to change the noms. So that was smart on their end to do that. Mm-hmm. So now Claire's the HOH, but she didn't change anything. So I guess at this point, it's up to her to decide who's replacing somebody if there's somebody gets pulled off the block.
Yeah.
As I said, the cookout's still very much in charge. And nobody else really seems to realize it. I did happen to see something today. It sounds like somebody might have said something that might have interfered. I have no idea. I don't really know. It's not really a spoiler. I think at some point people will figure it out, but they don't seem to realize it. Mm-hmm. And then, so that's kind of where my thoughts. And last week, I know we talked about, players that are playing well or whatever. I'm not really sure who had a great week per se, other than saying, the cookout in general. They just continue to do that stuff. So
I think Tiffany probably had the best week.
I would say so.
She's kind of, if there was one person running in the house right now, I think it would be Tiffany, but
I agree.
She's playing so hard. I don't know that she's going to win. I think they're going to try and take her out before. Watch Alyssa and Azza come out as the final 2. Like, those 2 have done nothing all season.
Well, I'm going to ask you this. Assuming that Sarah Beth, Alyssa, and Claire are evicted in the next 3 weeks in some order, and that the 6 members of the cookout do make it to the final 6. Obviously, we don't know who wins what HOHs and all that stuff, but if you could predict what order they will get evicted once it's down to those 6, what do you think it'll be?
Xavier and Kyland are 1, 2. Whoever's not
get
HOH,
evicted or win?
Get evicted. Whoever's not HOH gets evicted. And then they go after the other one. I think the final 4 is going to be Tiffany, Hannah, Derek, and Azza.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I have Hannah as my winner right now. I think she's going to win. She hasn't won anything, but I think she's the smartest of the house.
No, I think that's certainly on the table. I still have a hard time picking against Xavier. I understand what you're saying. I do think he will become the big target, but I have this feeling that he'll start to win competitions when he needs to. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't needed to win anything. He's been throwing competitions right and left. He's doing it intentionally, and I think he is the type of player that when he needs to, he will. Is that like a guarantee? No, certainly not. And if they have the opportunity, they will get him out. But I'm not ready to bet against him at this point. I do agree with the Hannah thing. to me, Ozza hasn't done much of anything.
Nothing.
Derek F hasn't done much of anything. If it's,
I vote to.
he's played a solid social game, so he might win some votes that way. We'll just have to see. Any other Big Brother things you wanted to touch on?
No, I definitely agree that Xavier or Kylan could go on a comp run here and find themselves in the final three. I hope they do, because those have been two of my favorites from the get-go.
Right.
I think I'm agreeing with you. Xavier's probably been the best overall player from the start.
Yeah.
Right up there with Derek X. I thought Derek X was playing a great game as well, but
until he didn't.
I don't blame him one bit for not playing in that comp or in the high roller. No one has any idea about the cookout. So
no,
he thought he had the numbers, and because no one knows the cookout's a thing.
That's fair.
How about Sarah Beth trying to make this new alliance the monarchy or whatever?
And then immediately throwing Alyssa under the bus. I'm not a fan of her either.
Derek X in his eviction speech made the Nicole F reference, and that was the season before I started, so I didn't get it, but I had to look it up. And he's totally right. Sarah Beth has done nothing, and her HOH week was Kylan telling her what to do.
Absolutely right. All right, so Big Brother, we'll have more of that eventually. I do believe there's going to be a double eviction here soon. Even a triple
do you think
eviction.
Do you think there's going to be a battle back, or do you think it's done?
Well, I would doubt there's a battle back. I did see somebody mention that they're on CBS's schedule coming up here in a couple weeks. There's a 2-hour episode,
so that would be double or triple.
Well, it probably triple, which at that point it's just going to be the cookout eliminating each other, I think. So
remember a couple seasons ago where they forgot to take the graphic down behind Julie, and so everyone in the house knew.
Yes, that was great. We'll see what happens there. I think that's going to about do it. I do want to no movies this weekend, but Shang-Chi, the new Marvel movie, does come out this coming weekend, Labor Day weekend. It's a new character to the MCU. That movie, and it's been kind of reported that that's really going to be a bellwether for other studios to see what they do with their other releases. With the situation with the Delta variant and people the box office numbers still not great.
Yeah.
I've seen several reports that basically say if Shang-Chi doesn't do well, then we're probably going to get several more delays. So we'll have to see. I plan on seeing that this weekend. Be a nice new twist on, a different genre of movie inside the MCU. So pretty excited about that one. Craig, anything else that you want to touch on before we shut it down for the day?
I'm excited for Dear Evan Hansen.
I'm very excited for Dear Evan Hansen.
I've been
September
seeing the
24th.
commercials. I've been seeing the commercials, and I'm like,
man.
Yes.
I'm
glad they got Ben Platt to play.
Yeah.
The main.
They kept waiting and waiting. I'm like, at some point he's going to be too old.
Yeah.
And he is too old, but
yeah.
I'm just I'm hoping they've done it right. A big fan of that show. That's the only show I've seen on Broadway. It's definitely my favorite thing out in the world right now in terms of Broadway. So yeah, pretty excited for that one. That comes out here in a few weeks as well.
Other than that, see you Saturday, Memorial Stadium.
Yep, Craig will be there Saturday night. Kickoff is what, 6:30? Is that were those Central times?
6:30 Central. No, I think I put 7. I think I put 7:30 Eastern.
I don't know what you did. Either way, it's a Saturday night kickoff. Craig will be there. I will not. At some point, maybe I'll make it to a game this year, but it probably won't be this weekend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, review, rate, all that good stuff. We definitely enjoy hearing from people as well. Shoot us an email if you have some suggestions, or if you want to get involved with some of our picks, feel free to submit yours as well. Craig will keep track of them. It'll be great. No one asked us 2021 at gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I did talk to a couple people Saturday at the game that were like,
that listen?
I like listening to you guys. Yeah.
That's great.
I know.
It's wonderful.
I was surprised.
It's wonderful. I've been pleasantly surprised as well. We are on Twitter at No One Asks Us Pod. He's at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. Chapter descriptions, chapters in the description, all that stuff. Yes, should have mentioned that at the very top of the show. But if you don't want to listen to certain parts of the show, we do specify where they are. timestamp wise, all that stuff. I think that's going to do it for this week. That's been episode 29 of No One Asked Us. We'll be back for episode 30. Episode 30 will be next week. Hopefully we're talking about another Illinois football victory. Until then, for Craig, I'm Logan. We'll see you next week. Bye.